Hi everybody, welcome to Reality Buzz TV. Do make sure that you are subscribed and also do like the video. So listen, every week I go into the new episode of the Mommy Club positive because I'm trying to give the season a chance. And then every week I walk away disappointed because I'm like, when does it end? When does our misery for the season end? Because we get every episode which is getting the same thing. Nobody is recognizing that they're actually giving us a flop of a season. And then I walk away thinking, when does it end? So that maybe we can get the reunion where they maybe get a chance to redeem themselves, and then the producers of the show, they can get a chance to get back to the boardroom and have some discussions about recasting for the show, and give us, like redeem themselves with a different season 4, because that's the only hope we have. Now, you guys, when it comes to Mrs. Sande, I'm like, that lady is so fake. At this point, I need somebody to take off Mrs. Sande's weave so that we can see if she's even a black woman at this point. Like, she is so fake. Like, I'm like, maybe she's not even a black, like, maybe it's an Indian woman that we're dealing with. Maybe it's a white woman. Like, somebody take off Mrs. Sande's weave, because I'm like, maybe even her name is not Jabulile, okay? Maybe she's not even Jabulile at this point. Maybe she's not even Mrs. Sande, okay? Maybe we are dealing with Mrs. Fande Meve or something, because everything about Mrs. Sande is fake. You know, like when her child was sitting there doing a diary session, and he was like, my mom is such a great mom, I'm where I am because of my mom. I was like, she probably even coached her child to say that, because the story doesn't balance. Because she is saying, there was a point where a child was taken away from her and didn't live with her, and the living arrangements were not ideal for her and for her child. But then her child is sitting there saying how much of a great mom she is. I'm like, this story doesn't make sense. At some point, you were not living with your child, and your child must have wondered where his mom is. But then he is sitting there saying, like, this greatest mom, like, something doesn't balance. And also, it's like a first time that we find out that you have this grown man as your child. Like, it does not make a lot of sense. And then there's that part of it, and there's also the part of the nanny. The last time they talked about her having the problem with her eyes. She needed to go home and have the procedure. And Mrs. Sande was saying she really needs to, stop working, go back home so that she can have this operation that she's been meaning to have. And I remember sitting there thinking, probably the reason she hasn't gone home is because she hasn't given this lady time off to go home and have this operation. But she's sitting there pretending that she doesn't mind this lady taking time off to go home and have this operation, because it doesn't make sense. Like, if you don't mind her taking time off, that she should have taken time off to go home and had this operation. If there was the issue, why are you still sitting there with her? You meant to tell me that this nanny is insisting on working instead of going home and having an eye operation? That story doesn't make sense. Then this week, she is saying to the nanny she is going to enroll her to study. Then the nanny in the diary sessions is like, this one is just playing. She always makes promises that she never keeps. And then I'm like, even the nanny is telling us that Mrs. Sande is fake. Because she's like, the nanny is like, this one, I know that this one is just playing, telling me about, that she's going to enroll me, because she always makes these promises that she never keeps. So I was sitting there thinking, what other promises she made? Like, I've never seen somebody that is an adult but is not able to, like, just tell the truth. Because it's like she can't just be real with friendships. Like, if she's with one friend, she has to lie about the other friend. Like, when she is with Nozipo, she tells Nozipo that she had an issue with Mrs. J. But when she is with Mrs. J, everything is fine. They're getting along. Mrs. J is thinking that she's building a friendship with her. And then when Nozipo comes around, she is acting like everything is fine. Now, when Nozipo and Mrs. J are all together, she acts like everything is fine. But when she is with Nozipo alone, without Mrs. J, she's telling Nozipo that she has a problem with Mrs. J. Now, when Nozipo brings it up, that Mrs. Sande said she had a problem with Mrs. J. Now she doesn't want to speak. Like, everything about her is fake. And even with Noxie, when she was with Noxie, she did not have a problem with Noxie. When it was the two of them, she even made a promise to Noxie to say, listen, I don't have a problem with you. I think we're having fun. And if I have an issue with you, I would bring it to you. And then when the ladies were together, she was like the first one to say, you said this about me. Instead of bringing it to Noxie like they had promised each other. She is so fake. She is so, I don't know how people that are friends with her can be friends with her, because I'll be thinking that the minute I walk away from her, she's talking about me. That is what I would be thinking all the time if I was trying to build a friendship with her. I don't know how people are doing it. How was she friends with Bradile? Maybe because they were both just fake friends. So, yes, you guys, at this point, like, I'm over Mrs. Sande. I am so over Mrs. Sande and her fakeness, okay? Take the weave off her, take the makeup off her. We might just find like a white woman inside, or an Indian, the way that she's so fake. Maybe she's not even a black woman. And then, you guys, another thing that we watched in this episode was the party. Didi's party, okay? We don't know how old she is, you know. And beautiful part. Now, you guys, the drama that took place at the party, it's a difficult one to really judge, because it was Titi's party, who is part of a cast. So in organizing a party, she sort of had to remember that she is organizing a party. The party is part of a storyline on the show. So she had to invite her real friends, but she also had to invite the cast members, which was the mummies and the mummies' kids, who are not her friends, but she had to invite them because they are part of the show. She could not just do a party with her real friends only, because the party was part of the scene and was part of the story on the show. Now, the friends that she invited, who were her real friends, obviously were counted as guests and they had their table. But the problem was that those friends that she invited brought plus ones. The plus ones were not counted, did not have seats at the table. But she felt bad when they were invited, and she felt like she can't kick them out of the party. And they arrived first, and they arrived before the mummies and their kids. Now the mummies arrived, and the mummies had their table, and they were invited, and they had their seats. And the kids that arrived with the mummies also were supposed to have their seats, but their seats were taken by the plus ones of the real friends. So the real friends of the real friends of Titi, the plus ones, had taken the seats of the friends of the kids of the mummies. Now, the problem is that even the kids of the mummies, some of them had brought plus ones. Now, I did not understand that, because the kids were mummies plus ones. Like, how are you a plus one and you are bringing a plus one? So that's how it ended up being, that now there are people that did not have seats. And Titi was like, but the mummy's kids are not my friends in the first place. I want my friends to have seats. But Happy was like, but the mummy's kids need to have seats, because those were the ones that we knew were coming. So that's where the drama was coming from. I think that Uh, they should have thought about, I think the producers should have thought about the fact that they might have extra people there, and should have brought that to Happy and Titi's attention. But it could be also that the producers might have thought about the fact that there might be extra people there, but didn't bring it up because they did want that drama to take place. So the mummies ended up being like, listen, I don't want to have my kids outside. Like Mrs. J was like, I'm not going to. Mrs. J brought her daughter, and her daughter brought a +1. I'm like, how do you bring a +1 when you are a +1? Like, I did not understand that. Like, how are you at the restaurant? Who's paying the bill? Like, I was like, how are you? Like, especially a party like that at somebody's house, maybe you can, but like at the restaurant, like, how are you bringing a +1? Mrs. was like, I'm going home if my daughter doesn't have a seat. I would have done that, but I wouldn't have brought I wouldn't have allowed my daughter to bring a +1 at a setting like that. But also, if I got I got there at the restaurant and I had a seat and my daughter didn't have a seat, I would also just take my daughter and go home. That's what Mrs. J wanted to do. She's like, listen, if I have a seat and my daughter doesn't have a seat, I'm not staying. I'm going, and that's where the conflict was. That that there isn't enough seats. So but other than that, you guys, everybody ended up having a seat. I don't know how they made a plan, but they ended up having a seat, and the party was great. It's always good to see Happy and Titi get along because they do have a difficult relationship. And it was great to actually see that between the two of them. Now, you guys, with Noxie did appear in this episode. It was Noxie, Happy, and Piladi, and Mrs. J going for like a dance class, and it was a fun activity to do. I don't know why everybody wants to bring up the fact that Piladi and Noxie don't get along, because the class was nice. I think afterwards, if everybody just decided that they just are going to go home after that, because it was a fun class, Piladi had fun, Noxie had fun. If they don't have a serious conversation, they would have gotten along. But everybody wants Noxie and Piladi to talk, but they're not going to have a pleasant conversation. And Noxie ended up saying she just wants to move on. I don't think that they're going to ever have a conversation, because I don't think that Piladi thinks that she did anything wrong in everything that she said, everything that was done. So, and Noxie is ready to move on. She's like, listen, I'm okay with her not even thinking that she did anything wrong, so I want to move on. And Piladi thinks that Mrs. J is taking sides and saying, listen, you can't just meet somebody and then say that you don't like them, and also tell them that you don't like them and expect that they're not going to react to that. So, and then Piladi thinks that Mrs. J is taking sides, and she does not like the fact that Mrs. J is taking sides. But Noxie's point is that she just wants everybody to move on. Okay, I'm ready to move on. Let's just move on. We don't have to get along. Let's just move on. I really think that Piladi and Vuyo thought that this season, they came in this season and they killed the season. They thought that they were coming in to be their favorites, and it just didn't happen. Nobody likes them. The viewers don't like them. I don't like them. I don't want them to come back next season. And that's it, okay? Then we saw a very uncomfortable scene where Vuyo is calling her kids, talking about them and the fact that they lost their father, up to the point where the kids end up crying. Very uncomfortable. I don't know, guys. I don't like these scenes where the mother signs up to do a reality show. It's not the kids. And chances are the only person that gets a salary here is the mother. But then they just use the kids to shoot these very sensitive scenes. And these scenes are not done like in a therapy setting. it's the mother that just asks the kids, how do you feel about your father? How do you feel about your father? How do you feel about, until the child is like really like in tears and crying in front of the cameras. I feel like it's kind of like exploitations, like they're exploiting the kids' pain about their loss. I don't like it. It's the same with like Tina's son about that burglary situation. So they make me uncomfortable, guys. I don't know. Why doesn't she share her pain and go to therapy herself? We see her crying about her man and all of that. Why does she need to do that with her kids? So I don't like that. And I don't know. Like, we really didn't need to see her kids cry like that for their father. We don't. Like, we don't need to see that. I don't like that. I didn't like that scene. I don't like it. Okay, that's just me. I don't like it. I feel like it's kind of exploitation of the kids, especially because they're not paid. They're not cast members on the show. I don't like it. Anyway, guys, that's me. Okay, so episode 5, it's still the same thing with Vuyo. And Vuyo and Pilati don't think that they did anything wrong. And it's still giving you that feeling of, when is this season going to be over, so that we can look forward to season 4, and we can just be hoping that they get rid of these people that just came and took over the show and changed it to this Mean Girls show, and we can get our show back. Yeah. Thank you so much, you guys. Tell me what you think about this in the comment section. Ngiyithanda kakhulu.